Hi guys, today I want to answer a question that I personally had before I chose to home educate my 3 children, and one that I hear really often, and that is how much does it actually cost to home educate, and specifically home educate 3 children in the UK, because that's what I'm currently doing. So I have 3 children aged 12, 8 and 6, and I'm home educating them all on a single income in the UK. So this is a question I have heard a lot, and a big question that I personally had. When you are deciding to home educate, often you are moving down to one income, or already you're on one income and you're continuing to live that way, and then you're adding in this extra cost of providing your children with an education. And I think that was a really a scary unknown for us personally, because I wanted to make sure that my children had a really solid, rounded education, and I had a lot of doubts around whether our small budget would allow for that. Would my children be missing out? Would there be certain resources that I wouldn't be able to offer them, and therefore would their education not be a full and rounded education? Would there be limits to what I could offer them, basically? And so I want to give a really transparent look into how much we spend on home education. So my aim for this video and my blog is to give you a really transparent look into how much we spend on home educating our 3 children. Their ages are 12, 8 and 6 for some context on what level of work they are each doing. And I hope that gives you a bit more clarity to make a more informed decision when it comes to choosing to home educate. So my plan for this video is to show you actual costs of an example of different weeks we have had in our home ed so far. This is going to include different clubs we've gone to, activities we've done, both free and paid for. The reason I've done it the way I have is because, like in day-to-day life, costs vary. There will be a week where you feel like the costs are just mounting. But what I've done is I've shown an annual cost and then broken that down into a monthly and weekly overhead, because I think that's more realistic. There's going to be a week where you feel you've had to buy a stack of books because you couldn't find them in the library, you've had to pay an invoice for a club, and maybe you needed to buy some curriculum for a unit study or something, and that's a really expensive week. But realistically, that curriculum is going to be used for a long time, those books are going to be used for a long time, and maybe that club invoice pays for an entire term. So although that week seemed expensive, the next week maybe you don't have many costs at all. So what I've done is I've done an overhead per week, and then I've added in any additional things that we've done during those weeks to see a sort of overall cost. So because we are at the end of July, I am currently making plans for our new school year, which we are probably going to start in September. We started the boys in January. So that school year is going to run from January to December, although they are doing exceptionally well with the curriculums we've chosen, and both of them are set to finish definitely before December. So I actually suspect that we will be starting sort of some new curriculum in September and finishing off some others. But because of that, I have decided to sort of add some things in, remove some things. So when it comes to cost, if this has been useful and helpful, I'm really happy to do an updated one for the school year 2025-26. So if that does interest you and you've enjoyed this, please comment below and I'll make sure to do an updated cost. So the first costs I'm going to sort of break down for you are our subscriptions. We have used a number of subscriptions, some we have stopped and like discontinued, some we're continuing to use. These are ones that we love and I think we are going to continue to use. So the first one is Duolingo. Now mainly that is my eldest, who is 12, that uses Duolingo, and she has done for about 18 months now. She has been learning Norwegian and Russian. Interesting languages. I was fine with whatever she wanted to do. but she does this almost daily. The site is really good. It gives some sort of like notifications, reminders, and you can sort of go on there and do a 10-minute short burst, and you work your ways up the levels, and it's kind of fun and exciting. She loves it. The way I kind of monitor how much she's actually learning is sometimes I will give her a little challenge and say, can you write me something? Can you write something down? And she'll maybe say, you know, my dad's name is this, he is this old, those kind of activities, just so we know. She also tricked me for a little while and would only speak to me over her little Google chat in Russian, which she thought was hilarious, but I actually found quite stressful because I had to like change everything on Google Translate. And I'm sure I've learned some Russian too, but that is Duolingo, and that costs us currently, so it's for one child, that costs us £48 annually. The next one is Night Zookeeper. Now I was going to come on here and say, and I actually think I mentioned this even in my blog, that my two eldest children use Night Zookeeper. But actually in this last week alone, my 6-year-old has become really keen, and it was absolutely adorable. But my 8-year-old sat down and helped him set up his little, like his first little creation and everything on Night Zookeeper, showed him how it all worked. And I think Night Zookeeper is actually a really good value for money for a family of multiple children, because you can have up to 3 children on the one account, and that cost annually is £69.99. So that's for all 3 children. And again, my eldest, she uses it, I would say, the most frequently. She is really into poetry and she's been using it to write her poems. She also does post them, and she has the access to be able to let other children using Night Zookeeper comment on her work, and she can comment on other work, and it's super safe. It's really well monitored. Their characters and everything are super locked down. You'd have no idea about names, ages, that kind of thing. It feels really safe. I can also, as a parent, go on and check how much they've written. They have lots of certificates that you can print off to reward them when they've hit certain milestones. You can see all of their work. My eldest gets quite shy about sharing her poetry, so I can go on there and just check. It's really easy because you can just check how many words they've written without reading their work. And then if she chooses to share her work with us, she absolutely can, but it means for her she doesn't feel like I'm like sneaking and checking and things, because she's just a bit shy about the poetry she writes and things. And so that gets to build her confidence when she knows she can share what she wants with us and not share other stuff. My 8-year-old is using it more and more recently, and he is absolutely loving it. He loves that you make characters. They have a lot of prompts. So yeah, for £69.99 a year, I think it's a brilliant one. If we've had a really busy day and I just don't feel they are up to a sit down lesson for English, then I think it's a really good way that they've still got some writing in. There's also other games and things to work on, you know, the meanings of verbs, nouns, proper nouns and things like that they can do as well, and it feels like a game. So that's really useful tool in our home ed. The next one is The Bear Can Read. Now this is quite a new subscription for us, and we use it for our youngest, who is 6. So he is currently in year 1 in the UK. It would be kindergarten in America, moving up to year 2. So that would be grade 1. And I would say he's probably working a little bit below his grade level in reading, and that's absolutely fine. I'm not concerned about it. He loves his maths. He's a really active boy, and I think a lot of it is he's just not fully ready to sit down at a desk, and that is absolutely fine. He's still learning loads, and his reading has come on massively, and I think even in the last 3 months that we've had The Bear Can Read, I think it's come on really like a lot, and I think that's brilliant. So The Bear Can Read, just briefly, it's a subscription box. Now I think I should have written this down, but I think the normal monthly cost is £23.99, But if you are home ed and you decide to go for this subscription, what you need to do is you need to email them on their contact us page and say you HomeEdUK, and they gave me a 30% discount for 6 months. So that was brilliant. It was worth asking and sort of mentioning. The reason I originally emailed was because you put all your information in about your child, the age, etc., and they will put them at a suspected grade level for what they think they should be doing. Now, as I said, I think my 6-year-old is a little bit below that. So I sort of emailed to ask how that all works, and actually it's so simple. So you go on to all their different levels and they will give you a little bit of writing from the books they will be sending, and you can have a read of that and see if that is where you think your child is. So what I did is I actually moved him down a few, and I did it to a level that I thought was almost a little bit easy for him, because I thought this is a new thing we're introducing, let's not make it super tricky, and then he would just shut off to it and not want to do it. So that's what I did personally. And the thing that's super fun about the Bear Can Read is it turns up, it says their name on the box, it has these cute little bears on, you open it up, there's always a little treat. So the treats he's had so far is like, he had bear tattoos, and of course he insisted on having them on his face and his neck and all the rest of it. So he had these little tattoos, and also he's had this cute little drawing pad that, you know, one of those invisible ones you can rub off and do again and again. And then in each box there is 3 reading books at the level that you've chosen or they've suggested, and then there are some worksheets, and there are also 2 sight words and 1 sound. And the sound is sort of like, we've had E and it was IE, EA and EE were all making E. And then I think some of the words this month he's had is little and one. And what I do with this is, with the sight words, we have his phonics cards, flashcards, and I usually have about 5 a week. If he's mastered all those, I'll change them up the next week. If there's some he hasn't mastered, I'll keep like some of them that we have. Added in these 2 sight words and added in the sounds. And then we have, I mean, it takes minutes. It really doesn't take long. He will just do his sight words and his sounds. Then we will sit down and do some reading. It might be that we do sight words and sounds in the morning while he's getting dressed, and then we don't do reading until the afternoon. It doesn't have to all go together. But the reading books are great. They have these really brilliant books. Not all 3 of them will be like this, but they have these really brilliant books where you as the adult read a page and then they read a page, and the adult page is a lot more in-depth and it really builds on the story, and then the child page is obviously a lot more simple at their level. And for my 6-year-old, he loves that because he is not just reading, he has a bit of a break. So that has been working really well for us, and I do see us continuing to use that. There's this novelty of him getting something that's just for him through the post. You also keep all 3 of the books, and although I haven't sold any yet, and obviously he's my youngest child, if you had younger children I would suggest keeping them for when they're old enough to be using them, but because he is my youngest, we won't be using them any further. I have looked, and on a site like World of Books you can get sort of 50p back for each of the books, something like that, and it's not nothing. It means they're not clogging up your bookshelf. So that's a really good one, and we have been loving that, so I really recommend that. I think I will in the future do a little review of that separately maybe, because we have loved it so much. And so the monthly cost currently for the Bear Can Read is £18. Obviously that will go up at the end of the 6 months. I believe it will just go up, and then if it was £18 for the full year, that would work out to be £216 for the year. So a bit of a higher cost for us personally. I feel they're quite a new company, and I don't know whether they will offer annual membership in the future, and there might be a discount there, but I have not seen that yet. So the final subscription we have monthly is HP Instant Ink. We have a HP printer, We currently have 100 pages per month, which is £6.49, and that works out to be about £77.88 a year. That's if we don't go over, you know, our 100 pages and things. There is always rollover pages if you haven't used the full 101 you know, 1 month. The reason we need this so much is that currently our main curriculum for the boys is an American curriculum. It is free to download the PDF and then I print it. I have chosen not to print it all in one go at the moment. I print it as and when we need it, which is why we keep to the 100 pages or less a month. So that actually wasn't our final monthly subscription. I totally forgot about our subscription for our local wildlife park. So this has been brilliant for us. We moved, and we actually moved a little bit further away from the wildlife park, but it's still less than half an hour from our house. And it's a really lovely wildlife park. There are bears, there are wolves, there are foxes, Arctic foxes. There is all sorts. It's really, really lovely wildlife park. It has a maze. It has a Saxon village where they can roast marshmallows, all sorts of things. They also have a really great outdoor play area, and the biggest thing is they have just done their soft play. So they have an indoor soft play and they've just completely renovated it, and that is brilliant for me because my younger two will, if it's pouring with rain, my younger two can run off into the soft play. Me and my eldest can sit, have a drink, have a chat, have some sort of like more grown-up time while they're off playing. And £9.50 is the monthly cost, and that is for 2 adults and up to 6 children. So if we go with friends and things, we can get like a few of the kids in free. And for £9.50, it's amazing. It would cost me probably about £30 to take my 3 kids to soft play once, you know, they've had a drink and all the rest of it. So this £9.50 per month, and I could take them as much as I want, even if it was a horrible, miserable day and we spent the whole time in the soft play, it would still be way cheaper than actually going to just a soft play. So that is brilliant for us. This is our, I want to say, 3rd year with that membership. We have previously paid it annually, but at the moment we are paying monthly. There's no difference. So that cost overall, let me just check on my little spreadsheet. So that is £114 a year, and it is that cost if you pay annually or monthly. So we've just done it monthly, and that's been working really well for us. So the next area that I was going to cover is curriculum and our home ed classes that we're currently doing. So my 8-year-old is currently using teaching textbooks for math. He has done amazingly on this. Technically he should be grade level 2. Teaching textbooks start at grade level 3. We did the entrance test. He like flew through it, flying colours. So I thought, let's just try it. And obviously they do a brilliant thing. So we tried the trial, and you get I can't remember how many, but I think it's 15. You get a certain number of lessons completely free to trial that level and see how your child gets on. And so we did that. He absolutely loved it. He did brilliantly. So we purchased grade 3 because that's where they start, and it's American, so this is converted. We paid £34.26, and that's for a whole grade level of math. Now, this hasn't surprised us because my 8-year-old loves maths, but he actually finished that whole year of curriculum in 5 months. He was doing about 2 lessons a day, and he just really enjoyed it. He loved it. He's a real techie and he loves being on his tablet, and this was a great way to use that time. So he's done that. He got a Minecraft Lego set for completing it because we were so impressed with him. So now he's currently doing grade 4, and we've purchased grade 4 at the same price, £34.26. Now I know as the grades go up, I think they start to cost more, but both grade 3 and 4 cost the same amount. The next curriculum that we use is The Good and the Beautiful. We use the math curriculum for our 6-year-old, and we use the language arts for both our 6-year-old and 8-year-old. I have tried multiple grades with my 12-year-old. She doesn't get on with it, and that is absolutely fine. She does a lot with her tutor, and I can go into that separately, what she's working on. She's in year 7 going on to year 8, so she's working towards functional skills, so she's doing something completely different, and that's absolutely fine. So as I mentioned previously, it is free to download as a PDF for, I can't remember what grade it is, but it goes up quite high before you have to start to pay for their maths and their English. And then they do have science subjects, history and things that you can purchase, and again download those PDFs and then print. They're really affordable curriculum actually. As I said, my 12-year-old did not get on with the language arts or maths, but she actually loved their science unit studies. We've done chemistry, and we were going to start to work on, I think it's like minerals, rocks and things. The only trouble we've had with that minerals and rocks is they have a box that goes along with it with different sort of fossils and things that are in it, and it's really hard to find out what's actually in that box so that I can recreate it over here without paying to have it shipped all the way from America. So that's something that's kind of stunted that, and it's something to think about if you were to purchase any of their science subjects or unit study subjects, is if they have got additional resources in the pack, you aren't going to get them unless you want to pay a lot to have them shipped over. So that's a cost that you need to consider. So I have sort of worked out how much it would cost if each curriculum we printed about 300 pages. Now they are longer than 300 pages, but I don't print every page. I don't print sort of the teacher about this course, different things like that don't actually need to be printed. I just print the lessons that they're actually going to be writing on. So it works out about 300 pages per curriculum. And that would cost us £58.41 over the year, working out at £6.49 per our 100 pages, because that's what we pay monthly. The next one is Willow Classroom. This is one that we are considering stopping. I think it's likely we will stop come September. So we have been doing 2 classes with them up till now. We have been doing with us, well, my 8-year-old tried it the first month. So Abby, who runs Willow Classroom, was offering a phonics group called Rooted Readers. She uses the Wild Learning curriculum, which I'm really interested in. I'll talk more about. And that was £7 a week. The first time I did it for my 6-year-old and my 8-year-old, it was really quickly obvious that it was super easy for my 8-year-old. I think if you are delaying starting home ed, like a more sit down type of home ed for your child until they're sort of 7, 8, even whenever you feel they're ready, I think this could definitely work for you. Because my boys have been in mainstream school, they have quite a good base when it comes to phonics and things, and it was really, really too simple for my 8-year-old. So although he came along and he, you know, worked and did the activities, I didn't really think it was adding much. So he stopped going. Then the second term I tried with my 6-year-old, and he just was not engaged. So it was a really tricky one, because I wanted to encourage him to keep going, but at the same time, if you push too much, it's just going to take you back to square one. And again, I do think it was probably too simple for him as well. Maybe that's where the frustration lied, because he was getting like a little bit bored because he kind of knew what it was that was being asked of him. So that was £7 per week, and that is for 4 weeks. And so that cost £28 when we were doing it. But like I said, I think by September, it doesn't run over the summer, and September will stop and not go back. The other group we were doing with Willow Classroom is the science group. She does a brilliant sibling discount, so it was £9 for the first child per week, and then the 10% discount meant it was, I think it's £8.10 for every other child. So it works out as £36 per block for the first child, and then £32.40 for siblings. So when we did all three of them doing it, that was £100.80. Again, I think we're going to stop this in September. So the next club we do is gymnastics, and that is for my youngest, who is 6. He loves this group. It's a home ed group in a town just next to our town. It's really close. It takes me about 15 minutes to get there. It works out about £10 per session. That's when you include, you have to have like a gymnastic membership and different things through the year, so it works out about £10 per week. He loves it. It's a really nice group. The teachers are brilliant. They're super patient with him. He is a really energetic child and he needs a lot of redirection, and they are totally relaxed about that. They also allow and encourage me to be in with him, so they're not worried about parents coming in or out if your child's uncomfortable or just needs extra support. And for my 6-year-old, he just needs that redirection, and sometimes when the staff are really busy doing other things, obviously you can imagine in gymnastics they might be helping a child sort of on the bars or something and they can't quickly run off to him. I can just be there in the background. But yeah, he absolutely loves his gymnastics. He gets certificates. They do this really fun thing when they've mastered something, they get a sticker on their chart. When they get to 10, they get a little badge. When they get to 20, I think it is, they get a little prize. And so there's something to really work towards, which he loves. The next club is Lego Club, and that is £3 per month. It's once a month, and it's set up by a really lovely mum who wanted her son to socialise more, who loved Lego Club, and she just hired a hall and set it up like that. It's £3 per family as a donation. So there is another group that is on the spreadsheet, and it's kind of another new one to us, and that is for my 8-year-old. It's a coding club, so it's technically an after school club, and that costs £21 per week, which sounds like a really big cost, and it is an expensive club. He is there for 2.5 hours, however, and he does get access to VR headsets, gets access to 3D printing, loads of stuff. Again, this was with the priority to encourage socialising. Socialising is an area that he's not super comfortable with. He never has been. He is quite happy to be someone who just sits back and watches everyone else, and he's perfectly happy like that. He likes to dip in and out, and we're comfortable with that. But that, because it's £21 per week, that is a huge cost for us. That is a £1,092 for the year. So that's massive. Like, that's a really big cost for us. And to just sort of summarise and total up the cost for the year, everything, including sort of the estimates for books and materials, costs £2,452.09. This works out at about, for the overheads, works out about £204.34 a month, and an overhead of £47.15 a week. And that is the overhead I have used for my examples of our weekly home ed costs. So what I've done is I've taken that overhead and then I've added in anything extra that's cost on top of that. So I just wanted to sort of go through an average week for us. On a Monday, my 12-year-old's tutor comes for 1 hour and also does a keyboard lesson with her. That will be the time that I sort of do some learning with the boys. Then we might spend the rest of the day at home, or we might go to the park or something like that. But let's just say that's a home day. That has cost me nothing extra on top of the overheads. The next day, it will be my eldest's equine therapy, and there's a lovely park nearby, so I often take the boys to the park. Then on the Wednesday, we could say we go to Lego Club. That costs nothing because it's included in the overhead, but it would cost £3. Parking, about £3. Soft play, £15 to get in, and then maybe £10 for drinks. Thursday is the gymnastics day. It hits right in the middle of the day, so we don't often do much else on that day apart from our lessons. Friday is the £2 tuition hub in the morning, and my eldest tutor comes for the 2 hours that day. And then coding club for my middle child. Quite often we'll go to a local library and the local park while he's there. So the overheads for that week always stays the same. It's £47.15, and then the additional cost that week was £28. So the total spend for that week would be £75.15. Now, I've done a lot more examples over on my blog, and you're welcome to go and have a look. And if you think about it like this, it's likely I'm going to have a week of each of those weeks over a month to sort of balance out the cost. That's likely what happens. If you, for example, pay a bill for a club that's, you know, for the term, like gymnastics, for example, and then you bought some books, you're probably going to avoid also having a really big day out or something. There's ways to balance it. So not every week is going to be a super expensive week or a super, you know, free week where you really don't do much. It's going to balance out. So I just wanted to briefly go into the fact of sort of why we've not mentioned much for my eldest, who is 12. So my eldest has a number of diagnoses. She has a number of additional needs, and we do get some government funding to help with those additional needs. That money goes straight, and doesn't cover everything she does, but it goes straight to her education and her therapy. So she at the moment has a tutor who comes for 3 hours a week. She does 2 hours of maths because that's an area she struggles with, and 1 hour of English. And as I said, she is working towards her functional skills level 1 for both maths and English. And then she also has equine therapy once a week, which is amazing. It is obviously expensive. I don't think that's wrong for what she gets out of it. I think it's fair. It's a fair price. It's amazing, but it is not a cost we could afford to put out if we didn't have that government funding. So that's the reason I haven't included those costs in there, because it is almost completely covered by that. But that sort of summarises how much we spend annually, monthly, weekly on home educating our 3 children. As I said, new school year coming up in September, things will change and the cost is going to change with it. And if this has been useful, please let me know. I'll happily do an updated version. I hope this has been helpful. It's really obviously dependent on your personal situation, but there is ways to make your budget stretch, and I think I will do another video on tips and things on how to make your budget stretch. Things like emailing the company and saying, I'm HomeEd, do you offer a discount? Like I did with the Bear Can Read, and they do. I was telling another mum about it and I said, please email and they will give you a discount code, because every penny sort of helps and it means you can put that towards something else. So yeah, I hope this is helpful. Please let me know any other videos that you'd like to see, or any other information or questions you have around any of the things I've mentioned today down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.